Summary of Season of Migration to the North by Tayeb Salih. The unnamed narrator of Tayeb Salih's Season of Migration to the North goes back to Wad Hamid, the small town in northern Sudan on the Nile River where he grew up, after 7 years of graduate school in England. After being away for a long time, he is glad to be back in his home country, where he knows the people and places well. Upon his return to the village, however, he meets a stranger, Mustafa Saidi, a middle-aged man who had lived in the village for 5 years. We don't know much about the stranger. They have accepted and welcomed him into the village, though, because he has shown himself to be a good friend and village member. While having a drink with some neighbors one night, the narrator is shocked when Mustafa Saidi starts reading English poems. Then he understands that Saidi is not who he seems to be. Soon, Saidi does show up at the narrator's house and tells the story of his life over the course of a long night. He tells the person telling the story that he is from near Khartoum, the city. Because his father died when he was young, his mother raised him. Because he was such a smart and talented child in the British schools in Sudan where he went, he was given funding to study in Cairo and then London. After moving to London, he started dating English women. Many of them were interested in him because of his foreign Arab-African background. Mustafa Saidi had urged the women to make fun of him by promoting him as a noble savage with roots in the woods and deserts of Africa, like Othello in Shakespeare's play. Saidi starts dating 3 English women, but all of them end up killing themselves. But his enemy is Englishwoman Jean Morris, who teases and angers him and won't give in to his power, even after she marries him. Their marriage is a constant war with physical and verbal abuse, sexual lies, and putting each other down. Jean is naked in bed when Saidi gets home from work one cold February night. He kills her by stabbing her in the chest with a knife while they are making love, which Jean seems to actually enjoy. Then Saidi is put on trial in London for killing Jean Morris. The jury finds him guilty, but they only give him 7 years in jail. After he gets out of jail, he goes to a lot of different countries and places before settling down in the small, remote town of Wad Hamid, which is where the reporter meets him. The life story of Mustafa Saidi turns the narrator's world upside down. When the narrator got back to Sudan, he felt rooted and connected to his country and its people. But after meeting Saidi, he feels deeply disconnected from them, and he starts to wonder if, like Saidi, he is also cut off from those around him because he has spent so much time living abroad. Still, the narrator goes on with his life. He gets a job in Khartoum, the city, and only sometimes goes back to the town. Soon, he hears that Saidi has been missing since he drowned in the flooded river while working in his field during a time when the village was experiencing particularly heavy flooding. It's possible that he killed himself. He tells the storyteller to take care of his wife Hasna bint Mahmoud and his 2 young kids. Saidi still haunts the storyteller even though he is dead. When the narrator goes back to the village one year, he learns that an old man named Wad Reyes has his eyes on Saidi's wife Hasna. This gets him involved in Saidi's life again. Even though they are 40 years apart in age and Hasna doesn't want to get married, he is set on marrying her. Hossein asks the narrator to help her, but the narrator refuses and goes back to Khartoum. Within a few weeks, he runs back to the town when he hears bad news. Hasna's father married Wad Reyes against her will. He learns in the village that Wad Reyes tried to rape Hasna soon after they got married, and she killed him and then herself in response. It's shocking to everyone in the quiet, peaceful town because it's something that has never happened there before. The people in the town are only trying to hide the murder-suicide, but it's clear that things will never be the same. The event breaks the narrator's heart, since he had grown feelings for Saidi's wife. He finally chooses to go into the secret room in Mustafa Saidi's house while he is in the town. Saidi gave him the key to the room after he died. When the narrator walks into the room, he or she is shocked to see that it is a shrine to Saidi's life in England. There are thousands of books on the shelves, but not a single one is in Arabic. The room also has a real English fireplace, even though it is in a small town in Sudan on the equator, which is not a place where fires are needed. The person telling the story finds more pieces of Saeedi's life in England in the room. These include notebook entries and pictures of the women he dated. He stays there for hours, putting together more pieces of Saeedi's life abroad. Early in the morning, the narrator leaves the room and feels upset. He chooses to calm down by going for a swim in the Nile River. He jumps into the water and starts to walk to the other side. But he quickly gets lost and tired, and he can feel the current pulling him down into its darkest depths. He wants to give up and die in the river, just like Mustafa Saeedi did before him, as the water rises higher above his head. He wakes up suddenly, though, and decides he wants to live. He starts swimming again while calling for help, even though it's very hard for him.
About the author. Tayeb Salih was born in Sudan during the Anglo-Egyptian Condominium, a time when the country was jointly ruled by the British and the Egyptians. He grew up in a small farming village in northern Sudan where most of the people were farmers. He did really well in school and then went to London to go to college. As soon as he moved to England, he started putting out books in Arabic. When Season of Migration to the North came out in 1966, it was a big hit. It was followed by The Wedding of Zayn, a collection of stories, in 1967, and then the two parts of the novel Bandarshah, which came out in 1971 and 1976. Salih had a second job as a radio host for the BBC's Arabic service in addition to his writing. There, he met a woman from Scotland, got married, and they had 3 children. He often went to Sudan, but he never went back to live there. He died in England.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.